Hello everyone, welcome to Fading Echo Game Dev walkthrough. I am Sylvain, I work at New Tales as a studio head and I'm co-directing Fading Echo. And I'm joined today by Elise.
Hello.
And Thibaud.
Hello.
Do you want to give a quick presentation, Elise?
Sure. Hello, I'm Elise. I'm the producer here at New Tales working on Fading Echo. Super excited to play the game with you all.
And for me, I'm Thibaud. I'm a technical artist and I'm here as a player.
Eh ben, let's jump in!
Let's do it.
Let's go.
We want to talk a little bit about the state of cinematics first. Elise, do you have something to say about it?
Well, it's finished, as you can see. We have our original 2D storyboards, which is what you can see before you now. We're trying our best to come up with a new style of cinematic that's not just based on fluid animations through everything, but more of a comic book style cut frame. So it's really important for us to try out things in 2D first and make sure we can still get the story across before we invested a lot of time and money into the final 3D renders.
Cool. So what you see is really something you won't see in the final game. Obviously, it's 2D storyboards, like Elise mentioned. That's kind of the how the sausage gets made, right?
Yeah.
You can see a pre-production work before we actually set up the whole 3D cutscene and integrate it in the game. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the state of the version, like where we are in production.
Yeah, so we're in alpha at the moment, so we're sort of in the last quarter or so of our alpha process. So we did our pre-production, which is where we worked on all the bits of the game and made sure we didn't have like huge lingering questions about the game. Then we had a pretty substantial production time frame, which was just actually making the game. So going through making sure all the islands were there, all the enemies are present, all the characters have been made. And now that we're in alpha, it's really getting into the nitty gritty of all the details of the game, making sure it looks good, it sounds good, it plays well. Most importantly, it's fun. So that's where we're at now.
Yeah, and it's a long journey, right?
Yep.
Making a fun game is definitely challenging, especially for such a small team as we are. Still in the process of finding out what we need to polish on and put our focus on the last stretch. Finishing the alpha, obviously, but also as we are getting closer to beta.
Yeah, I guess the same with a lot of creative forms. It's very easy for things to look like they make sense on paper, and then once you start combining them all together, you start to see the cracks or things that don't work well together. So that's really been what we've been focusing on, is getting all the bits that we thought were great and making sure that they're still great when they're together.
Let's jump in and talk a little bit about One, because we can see we have our lead character here. So One, which is our lead protagonist that the player is going to incarnate, who has some special powers. This is the very beginning of the game, so right now she doesn't have her fully special power, but there is still the core gameplay of the game, which is playing with fluids and playing with the systemic elemental of the game. As we can see here, Thibaud is just pushing a big guy into the lava, which is triggering a burn status that is going to damage this big guy until he dies.
Yeah, the whole combat system is designed to be that if you just try and hit an enemy with a stick over and over, you're going to have quite a difficult time and it's going to be very challenging to get through the game. So you really want to be using the systemic elements that we introduce you to throughout these processes and through the tutorial to really learn how to beat the enemies in a smart way and not just a fast way. So I think there's a lot of reflections in game development as well as in the game. Like, we need to work smarter, not harder. You saw the character get stuck behind a door for a while before. I think we've been in that stage quite a few times as well.
Definitely. Yeah, smarter is definitely a key word of the development, both in terms of development but also in terms of gameplay. Quite early in the development, we came in with this mantra of easy to learn, smart to master. We're not trying to make a super hardcore game, ultra hard to manipulate, even though Thibaud is quite skilled at moving and playing with the character. It takes more on thinking and building a strategy using fluids than actually really button mashing or pattern reading or animation adapting when you're in combat.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about this game more than when I play like Smash Brothers or Tekken, which is kind of just a Smash approach. So definitely not that kind of game.
Here we get into the moment where one gets her special power, and maybe we can talk a little bit about this one, as it's one of the key concepts of the project. Our really unique innovation we worked on a lot is manipulation of fluids. And as we were progressing into this vision, as we were building the game, obviously we wanted to play with water, which is actually the mana of the game. It's a tangible physical element you can use and reuse. And live on the ground. So if you cast a water bomb or a water wave or whatever special spells you have, it's actually something you're going to, which is going to left some remaining on the ground that you're then able to leech back and reuse. And quite early, we came up also with this idea of actually, if you can cast waterish, etheric spells, you want to be yourself water. And the ability to be water is something that actually is not something that at the beginning we consider as a major innovation. We say, okay, it's just going to be water, turn into water, becoming water yourself. But as we developed it, it really shaped up into something that has become quite a unique point of the project.
Yeah, I think it's also just as a human quite a relatable feeling. If you're in a desert or in somewhere where you don't have regular access to water, the joy of finding it. I think as humans we sort of naturally know and feel that water is essential to us. And so, yeah, I think it wasn't a big jump to have players start to really value this substance.
Thibaud, can you turn into water so we can see a little bit what it looks like? Yeah, this cute little shape which has multiple face, playing animation. And yeah, we can see the dev team has become quite fond of this character, of this water shift form. So really fun, really lovely, cool in gameplay because you can obviously do some special stuff like go through a grid which you can't access if you're a human form, and having special spells, touching, impacting enemies and turning them into fluids. So lots of stuff that we built up during the development.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest surprises for creating this water form was originally we really wanted it to be this strategic thing. And so we were working really hard on figuring out how long can the players stay in water form, when should they go in water form, when shouldn't they go. And it became quite a big debate for us internally for, I'd say, months. And the conclusion just kept coming back to it's just fun to be in water form. So we ended up stripping a lot of components back and saying, instead of trying to be strategic, instead of trying to make it overly gamey, we just want it to be fun. And if it's already fun to be in water form, we don't want to limit the player from doing that. So I think, yeah, things kind of took a really big shift when we stopped over-strategizing those components and just saying, like, you could play the entire game in water form if you wanted to.
Yeah, less is more sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're touching into a point that I think is interesting, is how we can do a lot with little. Obviously, a huge change as an indie developer where you have very limited resource and you are competing against some massive players with huge development team, and you have a very limited team with limited time and limited budget resource. So you really need to be smart. And one of the pillars of the game as we developed it was to build a game that have a strong systemic approach. So the idea is to have very little systems, but that are strongly interconnected and reacting toward each other, and still capitalizing on our fluids. Was this idea that okay, you have fluids, you can transform the enemies with the fluids they touch, but enemies are also themselves being made of fluids. And this, I think, was quite a turning point of the project, where suddenly fluids were not just something you have in the world or you interact with, they are also enemies or elements of the game that are made out of these fluids that obviously react the same way you do. You can be corrupted, you can be wasted, you can be solidified, but the enemies can also have this state. And here we can see one example on lava. And if you touch it as you are in water form, you will turn to steam, which is quite a logical interaction. And if you touch it as human, you will burn, suffering the same damage enemies do.
Yeah, and I quite like the comparison, I guess, from a narrative perspective, that as one, you are discovering a bunch of new things about yourself and kind of learning how to take advantage of them in beneficial ways to you. And we mirror that with the gameplay mechanics as you're being tutorialized onto the game, learning about how things work. and sort of understanding where that limit is between something is beneficial and something is dangerous.
We've been talking about one a bit, but we can see here that one has a bit of a different shape or visual than she had before. Do you want to talk a bit about this one, Elise?
Sure. So throughout the game, you'll notice that we're going to travel through a couple of portals into different realities. And the way we structured this was, again, always coming back to the theme of water. So in each reality, the water level is at a different place and the entire world is structured around that core value. So in the first reality, we're in a desert world where the water used to be at the normal level, but it's all dried up now. So you sort of see a aquatic inspired desert. Whereas in this reality, Thibaud, if you can look upwards, you'll notice we have the water level above us. As mentioned before, we're an indie game, so making an entire reality where you swim and navigate in 360 was not an option for us. So that kind of pushed us to be a little bit more creative with how we wanted to represent an underwater world without the tropes of underwater gameplay mechanics. And then, yeah, maybe I'll leave the last reality as a bit of a surprise for when we get there in the video.
The last?
Wow.
We'll see. And that's thank you, Elise, for sharing that, because that's actually one of the points that differentiate us from other games. We have multiple realities in which you can travel as a player, but each of these realities have their specificities. Here we can see water shades that is very visually distinctively, but also, as we will discover a bit later in the game, has some unique gameplay elements to it. And each reality has their own specificities as you progress in the game.
Yeah, and it was really important for us, and we spent quite a lot of time digging deep to make sure that we didn't go for, I suppose, expected game tropes with these realities. So an underwater level, we didn't want to take what's expected. We wanted to sort of turn things on its head a little bit. But it's not just the visuals, like you said. There's a lot of gameplay changes that don't just affect one, affect all the characters. So you'll see a character that you're going to meet quite soon, which is the AI of the game effectively, has a really different personality in the different realities. So we wanted to make sure that it wasn't portal travel for the sake of a gameplay mechanic. It really feels like you're traveling in these different realities that have quite a lot of differences that won't necessarily be all apparent at the beginning, but as you travel through them throughout the game, you learn more and more about why they are the way they are.
You mentioned just previously the fact that one of the characters is kind of an AI, and interestingly, that's something we worked quite hard at the beginning of the project to try to make a world, a universe that cannot be clearly defined as science fiction or fantasy, or we really try to be creative and bring something new in terms of universe and be somewhere in a world that is feels unique, but that cannot be easily defined as a classic trope of what you see in usual entertainment products.
Yeah. I think it's a real testament to the difference of our team dynamic. Like, if I were to think of it as like if every single person in the team were to say which kind of film festival they would go to, you've got the people who go to horror film festivals, sci-fi, fantasy, comedies, documentaries, and I think that diversity in the team really helped us because we're not a group of 10, 20 people who all watch the same films and consume the same media. I think that would have let us fall into those tropes much easier because we would have used the same reference points, but we really try and pull from different places so that we're not falling into the tropes or recreating a genre standard.
Yeah. This I think helped a lot that we very early on the project defined that our key direction for creating the environment is not a reference to an existing genre of fiction. The keyword was surrealism. So you can apply surrealism to anything, to like you say, horror, medieval, sci-fi, or whatever. And so it really came up into shaping this world, this universe that you play, and this universe that you are going to play into as you explore the game as something hopefully unique and different.
Yeah, one of the mentalities that we had throughout basically the entire development so far has always been go further than you think you should, and then we'll reel it back if we need to. So all the time, I've heard the term like, don't be shy so many times. And I think that's helped us definitely sometimes go too far and realize that maybe we have issues and we're expressing ourselves a bit too much in the game. But yeah, establishing that idea of we're always better off going too far and bringing it back in so that it's still clear and understandable and fun to play, without having to do like really small increments of like get weirder.
You're okay.
Here we can maybe talk a little bit about the story of the game and what's going on actually. So maybe I can give a quick intro. So you're one, and for your whole life you've been living in this dimension, in this planet for you, which is called Corel, which you will discover at this point have alternate realities that are being opened due to a cosmic event that you will discover as you play the game. And you are in this world with your mother, with Rain. We can see her on screen, and you are kind of alone in this world. This world, which is your home, but your mother doesn't come from this world. She comes from another reality, and she's been stuck with you in this reality. And as you are progressing through the game, you will discover that obviously parent-kids relationship is something we are all used to knowing it's a bit complex, and we try to recreate this kind of both conflict and attachment we can have to parents or to people we grow up with in a way that feels a bit more mature than what you usually see in classic video games that are generally not focusing a lot on relationship.
Yeah, we had some very therapeutic moments when working with the narrative team of like, yeah, but what kind of things would your parents tell you? Or what, we would ask as a group, if you were to make a big mistake as a kid, what would your parents say, or how would they react to that? And it was very interesting to come up with the way these characters would respond in a way that didn't feel too based on our own personal experiences, and we can try and find a way to make it accessible for everyone so that everyone has a similar feeling, knowing that we all come from such different backgrounds with different type of dynamics.
But that's the interesting point, right? Most of the team is based in France. I grew up in France, you grew up in Australia, we had a writer grew up in India, lived in America. And at the end of the day, we all have complex parent-kid relationship, but yet we can all connect at an emotional level as to what this builds up and what are our memories of it, and we generally all have faced the same emotional challenge growing up and becoming adults, which is one of the key themes of the game.
How do you say in French, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed?
You don't say it, you just think it all the time.
All the time, okay.
Yeah, you're French, so you complain all the time. That's it. Let's talk a little bit about this reality we are in. We are in the third reality of the game, the player will encounter. And in this reality, the reality has been massively corrupted, which means it has been affected by an element of the game that is kind of the villain of the game. Oh yes, thank you, Thibaud, we can see it on screen. We have another fluid here, which we call the corruption. Later in the game, that's a fluid you're going to interact with, which has obviously special gameplay mechanics, and you can be smart around it. It's both a blessing. This one is both a blessing and a curse, actually. So you can use it to your benefit, but it can also become quite challenging to master, especially because as all fluids, they affect both you and your enemies. So if it's good for you, it means also good for your enemies.
Yep.
And this reality has been massively transformed and distorted. And part of the story of the game and the narrative of the game will lead you to understand what has happened here and how you can use it to your advantage as you progress through the game.
Yeah, I think this reality is a really good example of where we had to really, really push ourselves to not do the expected. We know we wanted to have a reality that had kind of electricity or technological components. So to be able to do that without going like typically cyberpunk or really sci-fi and figure out sort of what our unique twist on that definitely took us a really long time because, we really wanted to try and think outside of the box and not go with the obvious option.
Yep, it's always a development change. And maybe we can also now talk a little bit about the gameplay loop, because we've seen Thibaud playing. So Thibaud, you play as a master, because you've been playing the game for almost more than a year now. But what the game is really about is exploring the world, obviously defeating monsters and progressing through enigmas that use fluids and systemic interaction. Here we are introducing a little bit more about the lore of the game and what's happening, what is your challenge, and you enter for the first time in what we call the Bastion, which is the central hub of the game. The core gameplay loop is quite simple actually. You have to repower this Bastion, and each time you manage to repower it or to bring a new power to it, it allows you to unlock new abilities. Thanks to Velum, your AI/God friend, represented here as little fishes, which is able to actually transform the world, change the reality of the world. And this transformation allows you to get new power. So let's open this little Louvre box here, so you can...
Yeah, in case you didn't know, the studio is based in France, we snuck a little reference in there.
There are a few, yes. So yes, let's bring this power core in the central part, and now we are starting the game for good. The Bastion is repowered, and you have access to your perk tree. So this one is super alpha. It's probably even more pre-alpha as we are looking at it. Obviously, the visual of it will be completely reworked. We are dressing it. We are adding the graphical elements to it as we are speaking. But this is the area where you can unlock new abilities. New perks, basically improve your character based on the experience points you found in the world, both in exploration with a kind of secret chest you find somewhere, and also by defeating some enemies monster.
Yeah, one of the design challenges for us is knowing that we were making a single player sort of action RPG that wasn't going to last for 40-50 hours. We wanted to put flexibility in some places so people could still craft their own experiences. So we've got a semi-open world structure. As you could see there, one of the doors was started to open, or the windows start to open. And the idea is when you start the game and you've learned how to play, you have 3 doors that open up to 3 completely different islands. And the player is able to choose where they want to start, how they want to progress. So whilst the core goal of the game is the same, you can still really customize your experience in it, and that's further supported by the perks. To say whether you want to be a player that's just going to buff up your defenses so that you're going to have an easier time in combat, or whether you really like the systemic components and you want to play more with that. The idea was to find that good balance between it's a single player game, but you can still customize the way you play.
Yeah, and it was quite a change during development to find the right balance between we're not making an open world game with a ton of content where you need to bring back 3 wolf's hide and you have endless small quests, but still have a game where you offer to the players the opportunity to have a degree of autonomy and freedom as you explore the world, and also a degree of freedom when you customize your character. Because, as you mentioned, it's an action RPG at the end, so what you want to do is customize your character, transform it, modify it, develop some skill, develop a certain way of playing. If you want to play it more defensive, more offensive, more smart with the fluids, that's really something we were willing to offer to the player, and this is why we created this kind of perk tree we've seen before. And maybe we'll discuss later how we connected it to the world before we move forward. Maybe we can talk about this new area Thibaud is entering right now.
Yeah, so this is one of our 4 islands, which we sort of as a tag name called the Volcano. That's the original inspiration point for it. Repeating the same theme a lot, we didn't want to make an obvious volcano where it was sort of lava in the middle and then you would just navigate it on the outside. So we wanted to kind of flip that idea on its head and sort of say that it was kind of almost like a reversed way, and you'll kind of notice that reflected in the shape. Every island has the same core structure where you have 3 sources, so 3 big chunks of the level. The first and second sources follow a similar format, and then at the end of the final source you unleash a huge amount of ether that you bring back to the Bastion with you. And then as you progress through all the levels, we still maintain that really strong rule of that you don't just play linearly, you have to go through these portals, travel in different realities. And that's kind of the theme behind why one is discovering a lot of these worlds for the first time, because before she couldn't use the portals and navigate this way, so she was being blocked from places, whereas now she gets to explore the whole world.
Yeah. As we are seeing here, Thibaud is super masterizing the combat. Yes, push some critter in the void, because that's that's what it's all about. Yeah, that's this kind of tonal fun we have when you, which you can explain. Oh, all right,
They have very, like,
too
lion
greedy on this
development.
one. But yeah, that's fun. I love this kind of stuff. So yeah, obviously there is all this systemic aspect to combat with this complexity and different elements you can combine to be smart with. But there is also sometimes the obvious and fun and very powerful stuff, like just pushing an enemy in the void, the emptiness, is something that is super powerful. Some arenas enable you to do it more than others. Like this one is going to be much tougher to do. But we did spend a fair amount of time working on the tone and the animation of the characters. It was quite a change for us to, I mean, lots of us have worked on different games, but games that generally tend to take themselves quite seriously. And in this game, we've tried to lighten it a bit, I hope, by being a bit more funny on our animation, being more funny on our graphic style. So in order to bring something that is both fresh, unique, and at the end of the game, even if it's a challenging game, it's a fun game. You want to I mean, we're making entertainment, right?
Yeah, we talked a lot about that idea of like make you laugh and cry 5 minutes. I really think the cinematics are going to be a big component of that, where you see like in the first cinematic that we played, the first time you see one, like she's dropping water in her eye, trying to get something out of her bottle. And then within 10 minutes, she's falling apart and maybe dying. We don't know what's exactly happening. And so we wanted to strike that balance of still taking the player on an emotional journey and making them feel something without it having to be a really like a sad or angering experience. We wanted the player to be able to definitely laugh either at themselves or what's happening in the world around them as they go.
Yeah, so the world is a complicated place nowadays. So the drama of the story, of lots of stuff, is something that we wanted to make sure we relive at some points as you play, with some fun and crazy and some mayhem moments. We can see sometimes the combat gets a little bit madness with all these fluids that are being left on the ground by the different creatures. You can obviously exploit it if you are being smart, but sometimes some events are going to happen even without your control, and then it's up to you if you can exploit them. Like we can see this big guy has become solidified because he has his foot on water, and this one also is going to solidify himself as he's rushing toward you, and then you just have to pile on and benefit from it. So there is obviously a strategic layer in combat, but there is also a part of adaptation, right?
Yeah.
That is kind of what you do when you develop a game. You have to adapt.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects of like life imitating art in this. Even what was said before about that idea of not taking yourselves too seriously, I think it's also just a natural thing we've developed as a team, just say like, we have to be able to laugh through the bad times, or, you know, we're going to have situations where we fail or things don't work out the way we want them to, and we don't want to be the people that fall apart in those moments. We want to be able to say like, we can find the joy in whatever it is and find a way to move forward. And yeah, I think that's kind of reflected in the tone of the game as well. Like even when things are bad and you have 17 enemies rushing at you, throwing lava on the ground, you can still have a bit of a laugh about it.
Yeah, and being in a difficult place as you develop the game is really part of game development. Huh? Mm-hmm. Don't be a game developer if you don't like failure, because it's basically what makes a game is failing, trying, iterating, and innovating is accepting that you're going to fail at some point. You cannot be successful in your innovation all the time.
Yeah, when you see early models of planes, I'm very glad they kept pushing and made it better and better, you know.
We're taking a bit less risks than the guys that were riding the first planes. But yes, on combat, actually, we at some point in the project we were in a difficult spot where the game was not to the level of fun that we were expecting. The fluid systemic interaction were too confusing, and we had to iterate a lot, and really put our head down to it, in order to find the right mechanics and the right game feel, to make a game that lives to the standard of what you're expecting at this moment in time, where there are so many excellent games on the market, and especially for third-person indie, I think it's quite challenging, because as soon as you start talking third-person, basically you compare to Assassin's Creed, to God of War, to all this completely kick-ass third-person game. But with an indie team, you have to be very creative to find solution to deliver a game that reaches the quality standard that these other big companies are doing with less resource, but also bring some innovation that biggest company have more difficulty to bring, because they are less agile than a bunch of mad developers, mad young developers like us that are trying to do something different.
Yeah, I think there's also the component of figuring out our difficulty as well. So there was the innovation and then the general game feel. And that's also a really tricky thing to figure out the right way to approach it, because as people and as players, we're all quite diverse and we have different ways of approaching things. So there's so many times where, you can pass the controller around to 5 people in the team and they'll tell you it's 5 different levels of difficulty. And so that's something we spent a lot of time trying to figure out, what that right balance, what's too easy, what's too difficult, who are the right people in the team that we want to base as the standard for who's going to struggle and who's not going to struggle. And yeah, that's a very tricky line to draw. Yeah,
it's a long process. Maybe one thing we haven't covered too much as we were discussing is our cast of characters. Both actually, what are the characters we have created and who is going to impersonate them as we progress. So maybe I can start by talking a little bit about the casting and the fact that we decided to do a game that focus on emotion with a very small pool of characters. I think we have 6 characters in total, so it's a very, very small cast. Obviously, there is this daughter-mother relationship that we are developing, but also lots of elements of the story relate to how you have a kind of dysfunctional family relationship. I think lots of people can relate to what we have crafted here. And we have had the chance to discuss with some really awesome actors that are also big RPG fans, that have worked in the RPG games. I'm thinking about Samantha Bear, which is our lead actress for One, and it's been such. We feel so lucky to have the chance to work with her. Sam is really passionate about games, and it's not the case for all game actors actually.
Yeah, I think one of the highlight moments for the team was as we were doing some of the voice recording, we basically dropped a video call into the link. And so people in the team were able to sit here and watch these characters and these lines that we've heard so many times really come to life. And I got quite emotional personally, like hearing it really be said out loud and those emotions coming through. It's incredible, and it's not something that a lot of indie games get the luxury of being able to have that professional that professional cast working on the game and being able to bring their own twists to it as well, because whilst we have our narrative team and our writing team, it's always hard to know, like, will the character land exactly, how should they talk, what's the way to get the emotions across, and to be able to rely on extremely talented and professional actors to bring their interpretations as well and their personality to it has been really exciting. Yeah, it's really part of the creative journey of creating these characters actually. And that I think also that's why having your cast inside the development, like being like Sam, Laura, they have access to our Discord. They can watch at the development stuff. When we have some bugs, they can report it. They're really part of the dev team, and it's really something that we feel is bringing a lot of value into the project and to the emotions we are trying to create. Yeah, Jasmine, who plays Rain, is one of the main writers of the game. So I don't know how much closer you can get connected than that. So yeah, she really obviously knows the characters because she wrote so many of them. So yeah.
Yep, yeah, really something. Well, actually, sorry, my chair is breaking. That's really indie game development.
Yeah.
And talking about voices and characters, maybe we can discuss a little bit about how we've gone with the casting, which is always a change. And this one, maybe I can take a little bit of a funny story with Sam. We were in London with Manu to discuss with Sam, and we really hope she wants to work on our game. It's like we did the move from Paris to London. We felt like businessmen with our fading echo jumpers and New Tales t-shirts. And interestingly, when we debriefed this meeting, because Sam was with her agent, Valérie at this point, and she basically tells the same story. She said, "Wow, I was really hoping this guy would allow me to be in their game." And so yeah, it's funny actually. We're all kids at the end, and that's really what I like about game development. It's obviously it's a very difficult journey, but at the end of the day, it's people who just want to have fun and work on a fun game, whether you are an actor or a game developer.
Yeah, I think it's always fun when you join a new team and you're sitting in a meeting, and it's even happened to us here where someone will reference a game being like, oh, I kind of want it to be inspired by this, and someone else with the team will say like, well, I worked on that game, so I actually know how that was built. And it's cool because at the end of the day we all love video games here, and to be at a point where you can have a game that you love so much or that inspired you or meant so much, and actually meet the people who made it, and not in a way of fandom, just they're the person sitting next to you, or they're making a cup of coffee while you are at the same time. It's a really special thing.
Yeah, it's a special moment for as a game developer.
Mm.
Okay, cool. We are approaching the end of the source. Thibaud, you've been rocking at it.
Yeah, we have to talk even faster to match the pace.
Yeah. So here, Thibaud, you bring this power core that you fetched up in another reality. You had to bring back from another reality into your own reality to activate your first source. Here we can talk a little bit about this source that are elements that convey etheric power that you need to repower and refuel your Bastion. Here you activated the first one. You have light up the first one of the 12 which compose the whole game. Congrats. And it has actually enabled you to create this kind of massive pipe, water tube, that allows you to that you can ride through. Actually, you're free to exit it at any point, and if you want to access some new area of the game or to progress further into the game, you can exit the tube. Like for example, here we can see there is. Can you reach it? I'm not sure you can reach it. But yeah, this enables you to gain some extra experience points and actually discover some special areas. Congrats. And also to ride back to your Bastion, to your own base, where you can actually improve your character and buy new perks based on your skills.
Yeah, I think the water tubes was another good example of I guess innovation coming in a bit later, where originally we had these physical architectural aqueducts that were connecting the sources, and that was meant to be the idea that they existed from the previous life of when people lived there, but they've all been drained up, so you need to reconnect them. And as you could probably imagine, it caused so many level design issues, and having a physical structure that connected you, that you can go this way but you can't go that way, and we just kind of kept hitting, I guess no pun intended, but wall after wall of that. And then I remember distinctly the meeting where we're just sitting being like, just be weird. Let's just be weird. Why does it have to be physical? And then we ended up coming up with this, and I think it's one of the coolest parts of the game. People have so much fun navigating in them, and it was just a good example of us taking that moment to be like, no, we can be weirder, and being weirder brought us something so much more fun and interesting that's really given the game some personality.
Yeah, and it really unlocked lots of level design challenges and world building challenges that we were facing. So yeah, really being surrealistic and crazy is really what made this game, I think, quite unique in its current state and form.
One of the things I'm really excited about for the Bastion is you can kind of see the little section over there that has on the other side, a little bit more assets. So the idea is the first time you go to the Bastion, it's quite grey and very monotone. And as you rebuild the ether source connection to the Bastion, it starts to literally come to life. So there was a lot of components of the game where we didn't want it to just be a menu. We wanted you to really feel the changes that you're making around you. So you can see that we've got like the waterfall coming through now, and that represents one of the sources you've unlocked. So once you're towards the end of the game, your Bastion is going to be flowing with water, with mushrooms and rocks and algae, and really mirroring what the gameplay mechanics are, which is you are bringing life back into this part of the world.
And now we have achieved our first source, so that's when we get back to the Bastion and repower it. And because Thibaud is a pro player and has earned lots of experience during his PlayStation, he's actually able to buy multiple points and multiple perks, sorry. And this is where we actually have connected your exploration, so the part of the world that you've decided to explore. So here we can see a Cinder Vault. So this slice here is the areas that we were in, this kind of volcanic world. And because we have finished this part of the world, we have unlocked the perks that are associated to this part of the world. And in the game, you're actually free to go with whichever area you want to go first. You can go to Ethermine or to Igran Hollow. It's up to you to decide which area you want to go first, but which will in turn define which perks and which abilities you are able to unlock if you've earned enough experience point to progress. And on the builds, maybe I can talk a little bit about the build. Sorry, I'm a bit geeky about this as being a big RPG player, but the way we try to design it is each abilities are related to a kind of build, which we have three mains, more defensive, more offensive, and more fluid inspired. So if you want to go simple, you can pick like all the purple one, or either all the blue ones, or all the red ones, which will lead you to a predefined build, let's say. But obviously it's an RPG, so at some point you want maybe to build a completely fully custom build by buying whatever custom perks you want to create your own build. Feel free to do it. You can experiment. We actually playtested that with an Excel file, right, Elise?
Yeah, my favorite.
We created an Excel file with all these perks and we share it within the team. And each team member were actually using the Excel file to customize their own build, create their own virtual Excel build, just to on paper prototype about which builds can we come up with. And I think it was Corentin who broke the game just on paper.
Yeah.
He did,
yeah.
right? He came up with this weird build that allowed you to do like unlimited attacks and being full life if you play in a certain way. Again, it's just a mild experiment. But it was very interesting that even on paper we are able to break our own game, and it's something we actually could not fix entirely because we love this idea of players being able to create builds or to come up with ideas that are very unique. Obviously you need to pick the right perks and also apply it right in gameplay. It's not automatic and it's not going to work in every situation, but we really love this idea of giving the players the autonomy to create their own character.
Yeah, I guess that mentality that we had of like, as a player, if you're smarter than us and you figure out a way to exploit it, all props to you, go for it. Yeah.
Congrats.
We're hiring. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. We are at the end of the closed alpha. Thank you very much, Thibaud, for
No problem.
driving us through it. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the next step. Which platform are we releasing on, and what are our next steps for production, Elise? You want maybe to give a quick update on this one?
Yeah, so we've announced that we are releasing on Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam. So we haven't announced quite yet exactly when our release date will be, but part of that is because we need all of your feedback on the game first, because we want to make sure that when we deliver it, it's something people are really excited to play and delivers on the promise. So we're just wrapping up our closed alpha this week, so we have a couple days left to get feedback from players, and then we'll be pretty soon announcing the next time where you'll be able to get your hands on the game, what content we're going to be able to share. But in the meantime, we have our Discord open. All the developers are in the Discord, so we're happy to answer questions. We share exclusive content there that's work in progress, try and get feedback on early designs or early character art, and then things like giveaways and stuff like that for fun as well.
Yeah, please do not hesitate to join our Discord. We're happy to get feedbacks. As is mentioned, the build is still being developed, so any feedback is very welcome, positive, negative, constructive. We are happy to take it all, so just do not hesitate. And obviously, you can also wishlist it on Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation, or your favorite platform. And let's wrap up with that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elise. Thank you, Thibaud. Have a great day, and see you.
Bye bye.
I've been coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. I drop the top when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Yeah, I flow so pure. Everybody know I'm you know when it click.